inside to another electric episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake. I am your host this morning and every morning, Processor Sky, with another episode of the Midweek Mailbag, where we go over the Roll Gangers questions from Twitter, sometimes other social medias, but honestly, this episode is about to be super lit. I am extremely humbled to have received as many good questions as I did this past run, and I truly apologize for those that didn't make the cut. I think it's the first midweek mailbag episode where I wasn't able to select every good question. So I actually had to eliminate questions that would have been really fun to answer because we simply had too many good ones. But shout out to the ones that did make it onto the show. I'm really, really excited to answer these midweek mailbag questions with the Roll Gang on today's episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake, where we have awoke, so now we smoke, as per stoner law. Every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time, you know where to find us: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We be chilling on here, smoking some herb, hitting some cannabis content, and chilling with the Roll Gang. I absolutely love it. So without further ado, I'm going to start rolling up my Wake and Bake this morning while I talk to you guys about the sponsors of the show, because they make it happen for the Roll Gang and make this show possible. So first and foremost today, it is Wednesday and tomorrow is Thursday, September 8th, the day of the Chamber of Cannabis meeting. Roll Gang, I hope that I get to see every single one of you at the event. Las Vegas locals especially, and if not, check out the story on the Rolling Spoon Instagram page for a link to tap into the Zoom meeting, because this meeting at the Chamber of Cannabis is going to be extraordinarily important, with 11 decision makers in the upcoming election up for vote. And we have got to show them how professional and iconic the cannabis industry is here in Vegas. So shout out, first sponsor of the show, Chamber of Cannabis, this morning specially, because tomorrow is such a special event planned. Get your Chamber of Cannabis meeting tickets at Chamber of Cannabis on Instagram. I'll also post a link to get tickets in the story attached to this show. Grab yourself a Chamber of Cannabis rolling spoon, and let's get to the Wake and Bake, Roll Gang. This show is also brought to you by the Rolling Spoon Cannabis Multi-Tool. This crazy spoon I'm about to use here to procure myself up a joint. And one of my questions here on the midweek mailbag episode comes about my one of my methods that I use to cook up these joints on the show every morning. And one of the Roll Gangers was curious as to how I close the joint at the end. And honestly, Roll Gang, this is probably my favorite Rolling Spoon related question that I've been asked yet. Major shout out to @HitTheBlick on Twitter. Hit the Blick. I think that's a song or something, but really cool Twitter handle. @HitTheBlick on Twitter says, "How did you close that joint? I always twist mine, but it always sparks funny." So @HitTheBlick on Twitter, tapping in with the first question on today's midweek mailbag, just talking about the way we close our joints. And Roll Gang, it's actually a super important part of rolling. Like, once you've rolled it, how do you enclose the top of your joint so that the herb stays maintains within the paper. You know, you can stick it in your ear or in a tube, and the weed won't come out of the open end. A lot of people, like Hit the Blick, twist the ends of their joints, but I think he's referencing this video that I just posted on Twitter. How do you close your joints? And I'm gonna show you here in 1 second. First, you gotta lick it and stick it. Roll a dime every time. See, this is an unclosed joint, Roll Gang. You can see the weed on top. If I threw this joint on the tray, all the herb would come out. So first, I'm going to use the poker end of my rolling spoon to pank down the end. See? Making a little bit of excess paper on the inside of the joint. And then I'm going to use this angled shape of my rolling spoon, the patented joint locking mechanism, in a series of folds in a circular manner. No twist, just a series of folds. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. Boom. And then I'm going to use the corner of the spoon to push it down a little bit extra, and it creates this fold. You know, this isn't, if I throw this down on the table, nothing's going to come out. Boom. You know, I can toss this baby around all I want, and nothing's going to go anywhere. But honestly, the reason it's better, so in the question, @HitTheBlick says, how did you close that joint? I just showed you how I closed it. I always twist mine, but it sparks funny. So a lot of people will poke down their weed and then twist the excess of the paper. The difference between this folding mechanism and twisting the end of the paper is this has even airflow. So whenever you pull on the joint, you pull through on the ember or on the spark, all of the flame is going to come inside freely. You don't have to open airflow first. But whenever you twist the joint, the airflow is completely closed. So the only way the airflow is going to get in is whenever you burn a hole in the paper, and it's normally not even. You know, you're going to have all your airflow coming through one little funnel in the paper, and it's really hard to spark your joint evenly through a twisted end. So make sure you use your rolling spoon cannabis multi-tool, close up your joints, watch how this works. So just a little bit of flame, and then spark. Even cherry every time. You know how we do it, Roll Gang. Roll a dime every fucking time. Just a little more spark to get it going. But yeah, this baby's perfect. You know, you got the airflow coming the whole way through like a straw. And so the ember can fully ignite. And it's not, all the airflow isn't just coming through one pocket of the paper that you opened up with your lighter. You know what I mean? So huge shout out @HitTheBlick for that amazing question on how to close your joints. Huge shout out. Find inner peace. That shirt though, hell yeah. Evergreen Organics, yes. Yo, shout out Astrid. Astrid works for Floor. This is a great company. So Floor is the flower company associated with Evergreen Organics, sister companies. An amazing shirt and an amazing brand it represents. Huge shout out, Cali 420 Love, Cali Squad popping in. Let's fucking go. Quality Vegas Buds, good morning, my guy Joe. Great to see everybody this morning here on the show. So the next question here on the midweek mailbag episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake, you know, I love it. We kind of rolled a little bit deep this week, Roll Gang. A couple of deeper questions, not as peppy and energizing, but stuff that we have to address. @IDK Dan says, why do I need a crack spoon to smoke weed? Yes, that's right. Why do I need a crack spoon to smoke weed? IDK Dan, but at IDK Dan, you know, this is a major question associated with the rolling spoon. You guys have no idea that how much the cracked spoon stigma gets brought up in the business model of the rolling spoon. And you know what? Do whatever you want with yours, Roll Gang. It's your life. You know, lead it the way you want. But I think a lot of people don't want to pinch their herb out of their grinder and onto their paper. You know, in the future, there's definitely a tool that people use to procure their cannabis into their bowl piece or onto their paper, and they're not just going to pinch their delicacy out with their fingers or fold it up joint packet like Raw Josh. It does look like a crack spoon, but it does also have incredibly many applications for cannabis consumption. You do not need it. You do not need it. You can roll a joint without it. You can smoke a joint. You can smoke a bowl without it, 100%. But if you want it, it's there. You know, there's the joint coaster mode. If you're taking a break on the joint and it's lit, you can set it on the table and balance your joint in the middle of its grooves. You got the straight edge to collect all your excess herb on your tray or your grinder. See, make a nice little pile instead. I mean, I just normally sweep it back into my grinder, but you got the poker. I don't know. So, the crack spoon stigma, I'm thinking about doing a full episode in length, approaching the crack spoon stigma, because it really has been a significant factor in the business model of the rolling spoon. But, crack spoon, weed spoon, whatever you use it for, that's up to you. I just can tell you in my personal experience, it's an extremely useful tool for procuring your cannabis, procuring it. And it's not a complete necessary, but it sure does help. You know what I mean? And be mature. The cracked spoon stigma is what it is. It's not affecting me. It's not going to offend me. Bring it up if you want. Don't be scared. But yeah, I just, it's going to be a factor until the stigma's gone. We got to be professionals in this industry. And I hate to bring it up because, I don't even want to acknowledge the crack spoon's stigma's existence, but I have to, to not acknowledge it, to ignore the problem is not the answer. You don't need this crack spoon to roll, but it sure does help. Like, I am telling you, I wouldn't be able to roll a dime every time like this without it. I would be using a whole bunch of different tools, like a credit card, some kind of straight edge, or some kind of poker, some kind of scooper, and they'd all be different tools. You know what I mean? So I don't need it, but it sure helps out. At IDK Dan, I really appreciate the question. I really appreciate the opportunity to dive into the spoon stigma here for a second. May go more into depth in it into the future, but shout out at IDK Dan on Twitter for the question. Why do I need a crack spoon to smoke weed? Long story short, it's an herb spoon. It's for your smoking herbs. So let's smoke some herb. The next question comes from at Jocelyn316. At Jocelyn316 says, what dispensary should I hit when I roll through Vegas? I feel like I've answered this question a couple of times, but Jocelyn, huge shout out. I love this new opportunity to answer this question every time. It's really an awesome opportunity to give a shout out to a couple amazing dispensaries locally. The obvious answer is Planet 13. The biggest dispensary in the world. It is an absolute zoo, and their local company, Medizin, really cares about their clients. I absolutely love Medizin and Planet 13. If you're looking for a 420 Sahara, if you're staying on the North Strip, 420 Sahara is the spot. It's probably walking distance if you're coming in a month or two when the weather's nice. If you're a fan of Pawn Stars, the TV show, the best, most aesthetically pleasing dispensary in the city, Canna Stars Dispensary. You can't go wrong in there. You know what I mean? And last but not least, how about a shout out to The Source? Just doing everything right. Their house brand camp is absolute gas. Just had the director of brands, Tina Ullman, on the show. She's a beast, and she represents an awesome product. She wouldn't do it. She wouldn't be with them if they didn't have a product that kept up with her eliteness. You know what I mean? So, major shout out to all these dispensaries. Shout out at Jocelyn316. My favorite dispensaries, just a few of them. You know, the Planet 13. It's a cannabis zoo. You got Canna Stars, 420 Sahara. I love Exhale. I love Cultivate. There's a lot of really good dispensaries here. Showgrow, if you're staying in Summerlin, Showgrow Dispensary, my favorite dispensary west of the Strip. Absolutely awesome industry here in Vegas. Shout out at Jocelyn316. All right, the next question goes a little bit deeper again. I actually got this question asked anonymously, so this person DM'd me and told me they wanted me to answer the question on the show. It's a great question, but they didn't want their handle shared because they're going through a little bit of a vulnerable moment, and I appreciate the opportunity to give my 2 cents on this person's adversity that they're fighting, and just give it a little bit of light, because I don't think that this person is the only one fighting from it, because I'm telling you, Roll Gang, I do too. So, this anonymous individual on Twitter says, I don't smoke because I have severe depression and social anxiety, and I feel like weed will make it worse. But my friends say it will help. Do you have any advice? I mean, what a bounding question. 3 sentences, and it's so perfect. I don't smoke weed, so this person is not a consumer. They're an interested consumer. They're coming for some advice as to whether to consume or not. But the problem on the table is severe depression and social anxiety, is a serious thing to consider whenever considering cannabis as a medicine. And it truly is person to person. And for this special anonymous individual, just know that first and foremost, you're not alone. I cannot tell you how much I relate to your feelings. It seems so easy. I do so much socializing, and the reality is it does get easier the more you do it, but the anxiety never goes away. The sweaty palms, the nervous tics before a social environment never goes away. The feeling like you need to leave or escape. All I can say is when you fight the fear and you go into the moment, no matter what, whenever you leave the situation, you have the alternate end of the anxiety. You get to feel the satisfaction of making new friends and building relationships. But do not get me wrong, it is way easier said than done. And for this person who doesn't consume cannabis, but all of her friends are telling her to help with this anxiety and depression, you have to dig deep into the cause, the root of this anxiety and depression. You have to determine whether or not this is a serious issue, something that cannabis will make you... So cannabis boosts your active emotions. If you are depressed for a rational reason, then I would stay away from cannabis because it will make you overthink what you're struggling with. However, I think there is a very massive population of individuals who are not quite sure why they're depressed or so anxious. Those are the people that should target cannabis at at medial doses, at very, we have to be professional about the way we dose this medicine, because it is important. You can overdose, and overdosing doesn't lead to death. It doesn't lead to anything except for it can make you pretty scared. It can make you trip out. But microdosing and finding the perfect mature dose for you, if you're one of the people that are just trying to learn more about yourself and why you feel this anxiety or depression, that is where cannabis can be an extremely effective tool for individuals who are suffering from anxiety and depression and who really just aren't sure why. So, huge shout out to this anonymous individual that asked this question. It was super brave of you to pop into my DMs and ask me to answer this on the show, because I think that it helped me to answer the question. I hope that you can derive one little nugget of help out of this, or maybe determine whether or not consuming cannabis is for you. And it gave the opportunity for the Roll Gang to know that we're not alone, and that everybody experiences these negative feelings of adversity, anxious, depressed, and it's extremely common. We have to spend half of our life below average in emotion. Average is 50%. So we have to spend half of our life below it. And let's just try to remember, Roll Gang, that those times below your average happiness line, the times below the average in happiness, are buying you time above the line, if that makes sense. For every time you're not average happy, you will be in the future. So strive for it, Roll Gang. Just get up every day and try to spread love, whether it's to a person, to your favorite activities, to your favorite objects, but most importantly to yourself. Waking up is another opportunity to spread love and to smoke some weed. Eat, sleep, smoke, spread love, repeat. Evergreen Organics. You know it. All right, so the last question here on the midweek mailbag episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake comes from @Saxophone Joan, coming in with a complete banger. Do your own quick rips. Oh, Saxophone Joan. Oh, you got me on that one. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And not only that, I'm just going to hit up right before we get on out of here. We're going to hit the quick rips with your Processor Sky. But beforehand, quick shout out to the headlining sponsor of the show, Rolling Spoon Cannabis Multi-Tool, helping me to roll a dime every single time. This one is my Chamber of Cannabis rolling spoon. I hope that I get to see all of you Roll Gangers at the meeting tomorrow night, 6 p.m., Diversion Amusements here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It is going to be an absolute banger with the candidates. 11 electoral candidates. Make sure you come through and spread good vibes. We need your energy to show these candidates how we get down in the cannabis industry. Professional and energetic at the same time. We'll love to see you guys there. And also, major shout out to Oaksterdam University, officially reopening their in-person school. I got my Oaksterdam spoons right here. See, this one I printed twice. It's a little bit trippy. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but I got some trippy Oaksterdam spoons. Gonna be giving them out at the red carpet event, legendary Fox Theater, downtown Oakland, California, September 24th. Roll Gangers in Cali, let's collect. Shout out all the Roll Gangers in Cali. We gotta get to Oakland, NorCal especially, September 24th. Book it. The official reopening of Oaksterdam University. the first ever cannabis college. Use promo code Rolling Spoon, one word, Rolling Spoon, for 10% off your tuition at Oaksterdam. And while you're here, if you guys could hop on over to Twitter, retweet the show. All these Roll Gangers that are asking the questions are awesome. The questions keep getting better, but we got to keep building the community, keep building the sesh. So if you guys could just, wherever you're consuming the show, hop on to Twitter, retweet the show at rolling_spoon, going live the Weekday Wake and Bake every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. If you guys love this free cannabis content, a retweet for the show would be amazingly helpful, Roll Gang. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. But major shout out and love of the show goes to @Saxophone Joan, as I get mine lit up for my own segment of Quick Rips. I've wanted to do this, Roll Gang. I've wanted to do my own Quick Rips, but honestly, nobody's given me the opportunity. I didn't want to ask myself, like, I want to do a Quick Rip segment. @Saxophone Joan, the absolute MVP rolling through. Do your own Quick Rips. Short, sweet, simple, love of the show. Shout out at Saxophone Joan, Joan, on Twitter. Alright, Quick Rips. Your Processor Sky Edition. I'm going to take a rip between every answer. I'm going to ask myself a question, rip. Answer, rip. Repeat. 5 questions, rapid fire. Let's go. Alright. Question 1. Processor Sky. What is your favorite cannabis multi-tool? Easy. Easy answer. Rolling Spoon, baby. Original cannabis multi-tool. Processor Sky. What is your favorite consumption method? Gotta be smoking on some joints. This one's going down fast now. Hey, Processor Sky. What is your favorite terp? Gotta love Awesomine. Awesomine. Processor Sky, what is your favorite TV show? Guys, Game of Thrones. I didn't take a rip between. Fuck me, you guys. This is killing me. Question 5. If you could sesh with anyone in human history, alive or dead, who would it be? Shout out my guy. Jesus Christ. Passing it to Jesus. Love you, Roll Gang. Thank you for tuning in to another electric episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake. That was a literal Quick Rip segment. Shout out at Saxophone Joan, at Hit the Blick, at Jocelyn316, at IDK Dan, and to our anonymous asker on this episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake midweek mailbag. I love you guys, Roll Gang. Love session up with you guys. Thank you for tapping into another episode of the show, the Weekday Wake and Bake, brought to you by the Rolling Spoon Cannabis Multi-Tool. I will see you guys tomorrow morning for Canna News Thursday to break down the latest and greatest stories in this budding cannabis industry. It is always a pleasure to put on my Anchorman Processor cap on and hop into the cannabis news stories, because it's actually shout out to my roots back in the day. Tiger TV in high school and junior high, doing the sports report, the Sam Sky sports report on Tiger TV. I'm gonna end this show. Shout out to my old school closeout of all of my episodes of my every morning at school. We would do a news show, and at the end of my sports segment, this is how I would end my show. This is going to be really fun to do here on the Weekday Wake and Bake. See you guys tomorrow for Canon News Thursday. And always remember to be a good sport. Let's go!